Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Hey there, Oilers fans. We are back. It is Zach and I here to recap a St. Louis Blues game that ended a little bit later than we thought it would.
Let's just say now. Yeah, we were after Leon scores, I walk in my room, I start pulling up all the browsers, everything we need to do. And I joined Dennis's Zoom, and Dennis is yelling, "It's not over." I'm so confused.
Zach's saying like, man, well, I mean, as soon as we blah 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 blah, like it's so I mean, it's an automatic, and I'm telling Zach, I keep telling him it's not over. No, it's not over. The game's not over.
I was riding the emotional high of a Leon goal. I was like, another awesome broadcast, another awesome overtime. And I was so hyped. I was so happy. I was so fulfilled. And even though despite the mess ups earlier in the game, which we'll get into later. So I didn't have that like anger that I see every single person in the chat is looking for, right? I was so happy. And then Dennis finally says it's not over. So I stayed in the Zoom and I kept running into the other room to go check and watch the overtime and watch that god-awful shootout that just sucks the life out of you.
I can't believe it, right? Like 0-3 in the shootout, and your shooters are Nuge, McDavid, and Draisaitl. Like
it's literally craps, dude. Like it's all luck. That's why I can't get that fired up for this type of loss, right? Like yes, there were bad plays earlier that cost them, but losing in this fashion in a shootout, even if the Oilers win, I wouldn't have had that hype. I wouldn't have that same energy, right? Also in the shootout, where finally we need a noticeable absence of Kyle Turris. You know,
yes, the shootout legend, Kyle Turris. But hey, we're bringing you the post game show. Let's get right into it. First, you mentioned crafts. We're going to talk about our sponsor, Sports Interaction. Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's World Cup, hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. All right, Zach. Everyone wants you to go off on this team. Everyone wants you to go off on Darnell Nurse. But I think you bring up a good point. The way that we lost in a shootout, shootouts are coin flips at best. Does it sting that we went 0-3 in the shootout? Yeah. But overall, it's not the most disappointing way to lose. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty of comments about the play before the shootout. Yeah. So why don't you take it away there?
Well, let's see. Where do you want to start, Dennis? Because
let's start with the first egregious mistake. Oh, I guess let's start with the first goal
of the game, right?
Let's start with the first goal.
Or the first goal that the Blues scored. That was the first egregious mistake that we saw, right? Darnell Nurse hanging out behind the net. I love the game over mug. Awesome. You can buy that sdpnshop.com. Go buy all your game over merch.
sdpnshop.ca.
Sorry, yeah. Of course. But yeah, you saw that with the first goal the Blues scored, right? Darnell Nurse doesn't make a decision, holds the puck too long behind the net, and I can't remember who it was on the Blues. I think it was Braden Shen or Chychrun goes, pressures him, gets the puck loose, one pass, another pass in the back of the net. Not much
Shen to Chychrun
could do. Yeah. And it's just a play that if we saw Evan Bouchard make or Philip Broberg make, they would have been lambasted. So I mean, I don't want to say it was nice to see Darnell Nurse get criticism because I don't mean that in that way, but it's nice to see that there's no hypocrisy and at least like people were like even on the broadcast they said like, what are you doing?
You can't do it's just an error in processing, right?
Yeah, and
he freezes on the play and you don't know why, right? And what are your options?
We can get mad, and a lot of that is us getting mad at him by part of how much that he makes. But if we take that away, this play that we saw it twice tonight. That is just Darnell Nurse in a nutshell. No matter what, we've seen it since he's a rookie. He's played almost 600 NHL games. He is going to make that mistake from time to time. That is not where he excels. He makes his money, as weird as it is to say, in the offensive end. That's where he excels.
It's this weird sort of decision-making type of play, right? Where there are a couple of options. The safest option is just to pass off to your partner, but it's just these small catches where he doesn't choose either option in this case, and just it goes right towards Chychrun, and then Chychrun just scores.
Well, in this part, to me, a lot of this too, like Darnell Nurse, I want to say had a really high or relatively high PDO coming into this game. And this is one of those things, right? And I saw people talking about Nurse's other giveaways in the chat. But like you saw earlier or at some point in the first, Philip Broberg gave one of the most egregious giveaways. It was a pizza right up the ice. Blues had like a 2-on-1 or 2-on-0. It was atrocious. But Stuart Skinner comes up absolutely huge, right? So that's that balancing out of the PDO where you see some guys who were, maybe Broberg didn't have that many giveaways early on, but he was getting every single one, kind of ended up in the back of the net. There you see an egregious one. It doesn't end up in the back of the net, but it flips around for Darnell Nurse, whereas Darnell Nurse makes a giveaway. And he was getting bailed out a lot. Now we're not seeing that as much this game. And Stuart Skinner played fantastic too, right? But yeah, that first goal, man, that's just a play that you cannot make, especially, and I hate pointing out the contract, when you're making that much, you can't make.
I think that's the first thing, right? The first thing that I got in the group chats was 9.25. That's the first thing we get. It's not necessarily the fact that if he's playing this way, you can't win hockey games. It's the fact that he plays this way when he makes so much money, and that was what Greenway mentioned the other day, right? Yeah. Like that's been a sticking point throughout the NHL. Now it's not just the fans; they're using this to chirp him again. Weird chirp.
And I do think it is getting to his head, right? Like Edmonton is kind of a fishbowl. You have all these people starting to yell at you about your contract. You have players on the ice yelling about you about the contract. Darnell Nurse, you could see him sulk when the Blues scored with 19 seconds left. You just see him punch the ice. He's on one knee. He's lying there. And he did have earlier in the game a pretty good block to kind of save a goal.
Hold on, though. Like, I want to talk about that play as well, because, again, in that instance, he has a couple of options, right?
Yeah.
You're winning this game, right? Just get it down the ice. Take the icing. It doesn't really matter, right? You have 20 seconds left, and you have your top line out, right? Your McDavid, your Draisaitl, you know that they have gas in the tank. They always have gas in the tank. So just whip it along the boards, easy, clear. If they knock it down, then that's on your wings to try to pinch guys at the blue line. But he sauces it right down the center of the ice, right? Arguably the worst decision in that instance. It would have been better to almost turn back around, pinch it against the boards, and just hold yourself there. Try to kill extra time. Down the ice, right in the center slot, that's the worst decision. It gets knocked down, and we all know the outcome.
It's just horrible decision making, absolutely atrocious decision making that you cannot have this guy make. And I know he's paid for it, whatever, to do better. But I think Darnell Nurse is what Darnell Nurse is, and we all know what he is. He is not a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. I'd say he's in that second to third tier of number one, amazing number two on your team. He was paid for a really high shooting percentage and whatever. And again, he's really close. He's really tight. He means a lot to the core in the dressing room. He can be really effective.
Exactly. But, and he did take 2 bridge contracts, right? He took 2 bridge contracts, tried to be team friendly. And then this is where, it's payday now, because we're done with the RFA years. It's time to pay up. And when your agent says, look at his shooting percentage, look at what he's done for this team, look what he means to this team, you're gonna have to shell out the money. So I don't blame the guy for taking the bag.
No, absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all. If anyone put $9.25 million in front of me, I would sign like a deal like that. I would sign that in a second. But what I'm saying is we need, because he's here, I'm not saying I like him, I don't want him to go anywhere. We need to support him better. We need to insulate him. He cannot be expected. Like how many, let me just check quickly. How many minutes did Darnell Nurse played 29 minutes tonight. You cannot have Darnell Nurse playing half of the game. And I know there's overtime in there. So, okay, let's bring it down by 3 minutes. Even if it's 26, that's still absolutely insane. Darnell Nurse should be playing 21 to 23 minutes at most.
I think that's a safe spot, right? If you don't want him to be a minute muncher, he's going to be a little bit more protected.
Yeah, and we can get into this more. But this is where, to me, the fundamental flaws come in. You have to support him. You have no one else on this defense that can support him. Right now, Ceci and Nurse, I wrote down in the first. You could see in the first. Whatever chemistry they had last year, that's gone. They both do similar things to the puck in the offensive zone. They don't complement each other very well. Their transition game, frankly, just is not there. Nurse can skate with the puck. Nurse likes to carry the puck. He is not a good passer. I'm just going to be blunt about it. To me, you got to try playing Nurse with Bouchard now. Like we have to move on from this Nurse Ceci pairing because it clearly doesn't work. Ceci could be awesome with Broberg. He could be awesome with with Kulak.
Kulak, yeah. That's a great option.
There's a number. You can have a really solid pair with either of those guys.
But here's the question, right? If you move him with Kulak, then you have this issue of Tyson Barrie and Philip Broberg. Right?
But Barrie tonight, and I'm the first one to point out Barrie's bad.
This
Barrie
is the
was
weirdest
best
thing.
Player. He had a
Barrie
77 expected goals.
He's great when he's paired with Kulak, and we don't know why, right? There's this little mojo that they have when they're together. Doesn't matter if it's second line minutes, doesn't matter if it's third line minutes. They're somehow amazing. But at the same time, you don't want them to be... You either don't want them to be the second pairing and then have Ceci down at third pairing minutes, or you don't want to have to bring Broberg up to second pairing minutes, right?
So this is the thing. First, before I say my next point, let's say there's 70 people watching right now. We don't have anywhere near 70 likes. Kyler Yamamoto scored a goal tonight. I'm gonna be really positive with my like goal. Let's try and hit 56 likes by the end of the stream. There's 70 of you guys watching right now. Smash the like button. We appreciate it. Dennis and I will be back here next game as well. We love being here with you guys, despite the absolute disheartening loss. We need the likes. We love them. Anyways,
again, I totally understand where you're coming from, but it just seems like a weird catch-22, right?
Well, so to me, and I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you that how. If you move them around, there is that one pairing that you just defensively is not good, right? Like even just like egregious, you cannot have them out in the defensive zone, no defensive zone search. So to me, what that says is, you know what? Ken Holland, I tweeted this out earlier today, been the GM. He has now done 4 drafts in the NHL. All of Ken Holland's combined draft picks for the Edmonton Oilers have 2 goals and 6 assists in 4 total drafts. Like, what are we doing here? You have the 2 top scorers in the NHL over the last 6-7 years. They've been 1 and 2 for almost all of those years in NHL scoring. You have never once shown them that you believe in them and gone out and made a big splash at the deadline. Right. There is someone on the market who, when you listen to everyone describe the ideal defenseman, you want someone who can break up the cycle, is big, is young, has term, can play hard, can play fast, can play with skill, can munch a lot of minutes. Like, and then you hear someone mention Joel Edmondson,
and you're what?
Jacob Chychrun is on the market. You have the infrastructure surrounding him. You plug Jacob Chychrun into this lineup, you have one of the best teams in the NHL. This would be, imagine if Darnell Nurse doesn't have to play 30 minutes and you have another defenseman that can munch minutes. And if Darnell Nurse is struggling after the first giveaway, you don't have to go right back out to him. You need someone else that you can rely on. Right now, they have 5 other guys that Jay Woodcroft is kind of unsure about. There's one guy that Jay Woodcroft can rely on. It's Nurse. Whether we like his play or not, that's how Jay Woodcroft feels. He's only comfortable with Nurse on the ice in all of these really tough situations. So yeah, to me, there's one play and one play only, and that's getting Jacob Chychrun.
And I totally agree, because here's the other options that have been bounced around, right? You mentioned like Edmonton. That's not what we need. He doesn't fill any of the holes we have. The other guy that's been mentioned in the last little while, Klingberg, he's worse defensively. I don't understand, unless this is some sort of masterclass in sleight of hand and trickery, where we're saying random guys, Erik Karlsson, just to get media off their back, just to get other people off their back, and then make a big signing. I honestly think you're right. Jacob Chychrun is gonna be the guy that we need, right? As long as the pieces that are his detractors, his injury history, are not an issue, he's perfect for this team. He fills the holes that we need.
Joel Edmondson has missed almost as many games as Jacob Chychrun. Like, if we're blaming the injury history, that's one thing. And I see Renee Gademan at 83 in the chat says, I want Chychrun, but Holland doesn't want to part with Broberg. I'm sorry, but Philip Broberg is only playing how much? Like tonight played 8 minutes tonight.
He had in an overtime game, right? 65 minutes.
Like,
he played
seriously. 8 minutes. And like, if you cannot trust him, get someone else and get rid of Broberg. Because I said this before. I do not care if Philip Broberg is a top 5 defenseman in the NHL in 5 years. Because if you have that, the chances are you don't have McDavid and Draisaitl, or McDavid and Draisaitl are making a combined $35 million. These deals that they're on now, that is your window right now. You can reevaluate once you re-sign them. But until that time, you need to move these guys. I think it's so useless to have them on the roster playing 8 minutes. Like, trade your picks, trade your prospects, go all in, support your core. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is playing some of the best hockey of his career. Yeah, right.
Like, he looked amazing tonight. I mean, you can go off.
Robbed by Jordan Binnington twice. Him and Yamo look fantastic. That was the dry line from pre-COVID without dry with Matthias Janmark, who, has his faults.
Janmark's he's up and down like a toilet seat, as they say.
When Evander Kane comes back, you have Kane, Nugent, Yamo, or you have Kane, Nugent, Hyman. There is a way that this top 6 could keep McDavid and Draisaitl together, and because Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has been so excellent, you can still have a legitimate second line. And tonight, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins 5-on-5 was fantastic, and his detractors for so many years would sit there and yell and scream about how he's a power play merchant, which we hear all the time. Fun fact: tonight, Stuart Skinner got an assist.
Oh yes,
on the power play. So Stuart Skinner also noted power play merchant. I won't be satisfied until he does it a 5-on-5, but that's just me.
I mean, think about it, right? Like, this is the sort of storyline that we've heard from, let's say, out east. I won't name cities, but Nuge is a core member of this team. He's a two-way, solid defensive guy, and I think if you remember the third goal, Yamamoto's tip off of a Barry shot, that was entirely caused by Nuge's play in the D zone.
And the transition up the ice was fantastic. Janmark holds onto the puck for just enough. Sorry, I'll let you
exactly. He held onto the puck in the offensive zone enough for Barry to come in past the line, and then he feeds a great pass, great shot. That's how the goal happened. Nuge is so fundamental to this team's DNA, and I tweeted midway through the game, that contract now looks amazing, right? The fact that we have people out west with people talking about Bo Horvat in Vancouver saying, hey, why don't we try and offer him the Nuge deal? That goes to show Bo Horvat at his high season, currently like actually trying to go for the Rocket Richard level play, is being valued at the same as like a Nugent-Hopkins. And I don't understand why other markets, they try and push him down. I'm glad we kept Nuge forever. I'm seeing that there's just so much love for the guy now that he's finally off on this heater, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You mentioned Yamo as well. Yamo's just been back to his old form. Since he's come
back, you have the buzzsaw, the Badger back. You know what was really funny to me tonight? The second penalty that he took on Braden Shen for that hit up high. What a bogus call. Kyler Yamamoto's shoulder might be 4 foot tall. I'm pretty sure Kyler Yamamoto can't even get on all roller coasters. Braden Shen is 6'1". How Kyler Yamamoto, not looking, got a call for an illegal check to the head.
He conked his head on his shoulder.
A foot taller than him.
I don't know what he was
Beyond
doing.
me.
He looked down and he just caught shoulder to the face.
He was out of the box looking for the puck. He's looking the other way and he turns and his shoulder goes into Brayden Schenn, who's hunched over like the hunchback in Notre Dame. It was absolutely ridiculous. And to me, that was game management because you saw what was the penalty before that was even more egregious. I think was it Yamamoto who just got out of the box as well? Because
Yamamoto was caught on a holding call.
Oh, it was a bogus holding call.
It was just one hand. I don't even know if it made contact. It was more like a caress. He didn't pull him or anything. He just had his hand in the vicinity, and they called him for a hold.
And the only reason they called it is because the Oilers were winning, and the Blues had taken 3 bench minors up until we hadn't even mentioned that.
Yeah, here's the thing, chat. Leading into this game, before the third period, I was prepared for just standard St. Louis Blues hockey, right? We hear all the hockeyisms. It's a physical game. We're gonna do some low event hockey. We're gonna have a couple of goals, but it's gonna be locked down otherwise. And this game just came out with some silly penalties right to start, game management to bring it even, and then it ended in this absolute clusterfuck of a result, right? I was not expecting this for a St. Louis Blues game on a Thursday.
No, this was so much fun. And Jack and Louis were talking about it on the broadcast. Because there were so many posts and so many missed nets and so many chances. Parayko hit a post. Robert Thomas hit a post. He missed a wide open 4x6. Barry missed a wide open 4x6 right after in the first, right? There were so many chances. It was such a fast-paced game with awesome goaltending. Both Binnington and Stuart Skinner played phenomenal. And
lights out.
This was an awesome game. This is nothing like that 2-0 game that happened on a matinee on a Saturday afternoon that I want to blow my brains out. I don't know if I can say that. I don't know.
Someone was doing that one. It was none too pleasing.
I was much more upset during that loss than I am for this loss. But all in all, a super fun game. You had awesome plays. You had a few egregious mistakes. And even I said this before, when there were other egregious mistakes, you had Stuart Skinner bailing you out. And once you go to overtime, the funniest part is the Oilers were on the power. Or here, we should actually say the power play itself tonight. When you look at the power play, the first 2 power plays, they were not good. They couldn't get set up. They really couldn't get any chances. On the third power play, McDavid goes full Thanos.
You mean the first? We scored on the first one.
Oh my God! Yes. I meant the ones after. The ones after. But that was a squeaker by Binnington. The goal Hyman got right off the bat, but that wasn't a phenomenal goal. If I'm a Blues fan, I'm kind of mad that it went in. He cleaned it up after. Jack Campbell-esque. Cleaned it up. Didn't let anything in right after that. But anyways, you go back. The next 2 power plays, I should say, they weren't getting anything. Halfway through the third power play, McDavid goes full Thanos mode, end to end, breaks it, shoots right over Binnington's shoulder. Can't even see. That's his 28th goal or 27th goal in 31 games. Absolutely unbelievable. This is one of the best we've seen McDavid play without getting a point. I'll let you jump in. Was
it just me, or did McDavid look faster than normal tonight? He looked unbelievable. Superhuman, beyond superhuman.
In the second period on the penalty kill, his presence on the penalty kill completely changes every team's power play. If I'm another coach and I see him out there, I put 2 defensemen out there because Connor, you see what he does shorthanded. He almost had one of the most beautiful goals of his career where he goes down. I can't remember. I think it was Justin Falk who's trying to use his body. McDavid does the spin move backhand off the post, and I wanted that goal to go in so bad, because those jerseys, beautiful as they are, would have lived in infamy with that highlight playing for the next 20 years on McDavid highlight reels.
The spinorama, right? When was the last time we saw one of those?
Well, the last time he did that was against Chicago. At least that I remember. In the goal, actually on Duncan Keith, he spun off and backhand pass Patrick Maroon, puts it in the back of the net. Anyways, that doesn't matter right now. We're breaking down tonight's Oilers game. But yeah, no, the power play tonight, to me, once McDavid had, and then in overtime when you go to the power play, 4 forwards.
4 forwards. Well, here's the thing, though. Is it 4 forwards because we want to press the advantage, or 4 forwards because you want to bench Nurse for a little bit?
To me, I don't know that. Either way, I'd be reading into it. I believe Jay Woodcroft is just being new age, really smart, really cool, trying 4 forwards, really pressing for the goal. Because to me, I'd rather Zach Hyman in front of the net. Because I find in that 4-on-4, there's a lot more like rotation. Everyone needs to be a lot more mobile. It's not just a standard Nurse at the point, dishing it all back and forth. Everyone rotates. Everyone can play the point. So I think that having the 4 forwards makes you a lot more versatile out there.
Plus, you have some really defensively minded forwards out there too, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen on the back check, McDavid, Draisaitl, they're great. Nuge is great defensively. So
you have an F1 car out there that can catch anyone, right? Like if McDavid's out there, no one's getting a breakaway. So yeah, that was really interesting. And then you saw when it went to 4-on-4 after the penalty expired, the Blues just did not want to whistle. They did not want it to go to 3-on-3. Finally, they take a shot. Stuart Skinner's about to play it, and Tyson Barrie yells, "No, don't play it, don't play it." McDavid and Draisaitl go on next shift. Goal. I get up and we come in here and we've already established what happened after that. So I missed about 2 minutes of overtime while I was setting up for game over.
But it's so odd, right? The Oilers are the last team in the NHL to get a loser point, right?
Yeah.
There's something about this team in overtime that is just so deadly. It's the open ice. It's the speed of the game now. But we're not going to shootouts very often. And it's just so weird. I keep going back to it. But the fact that even Draisaitl on that last attempt, he kind of just walked in middle of the dots and just kind of half-heartedly slapped it. I don't know if it was just a deflating sort of play of the team in overtime, but yeah, that was a rough way to end it.
Mm-hmm. Totally. One thing MDG brought up in the chat, something I want to get to. Also, before I get to that, I do want to say there's 77 people watching now. And we only have 32 likes.
We're getting close.
Yamamoto scored. We gotta get that jersey. We gotta get the 56 in likes before we end the broadcast tonight. Come on, guys. I'm counting down. We really need this. We'll do something fun next broadcast if we can hit that. But MGG in chat asked, what did you think about Devin Shore tonight? And I saw someone put some stats in the chat earlier that I didn't even think to look for. And it really changed. Now, Devin Shore, I did not think had a good game, but this changed my perspective. When you have your fourth line being a net negative, this is something we harped on earlier in the game. The Oilers' fourth line tonight got outscored. All you want from your fourth line, if they can pot a goal, awesome, whatever. But the fact that you had Derek Ryan -1, Devin Shore -1, that cannot happen. That's unacceptable. You can't have your fourth line leaking goals. To me, though, Devin Shore. How do you
miss
Dylan Holloway sets you up for the most glorious wide open net?
And it would have looked nice if he had scored too. The drop to one knee.
The way he receives passes, it's like he's holding a canoe paddle. I've never seen someone with a wider grip on their hockey stick. He holds it and he gets down so low. He looks like wobbly. Like the center of gravity just makes no sense. Double clutches. Misses.
Have you noted when Shore skates, there's a lot of extra swing movement to it, like hip and swing.
Yeah, good point. Not
good
an
samba
efficient
dancing,
skater. He puts a lot of effort, but he's not very efficient. I think he's wasting a lot of energy. But to me, all a moot point. I thought James Hamlin, I know he took that holding penalty earlier on. I thought he was fine. Like he to me is a serviceable fourth line center. The fourth line center should be just an archetype that you can plug and play any single guy in. I don't think Devin Shore can fill that archetype. I think when Ryan McLeod comes back, and we know he has a high ankle sprain now, so we're hoping it's 2 weeks away, but you really never know with that. So hopefully he's back soon, because I need Dylan Holloway, Ryan McLeod, and Puljujarvi or Fogle when Fogle's back.
I think Fogle should be back by next game. That's what the reports have been saying. And he's going on.
Then Janmark goes down. To me, I put Fogle back because Fogle had 3 goals in 5 games or something. He's before he got injured, so I would put Fogle with back with Draisaitl. But it's really interesting when you look at the way the lineup is right now. And even O'Reilly, there were the Oilers did miss had a lot of chances, but in overtime after the Oilers goal gets called back, you have Ryan O'Reilly completely missed, walks in on Skinner, outweights Skinner, and misses a wide open net. How do you do that?
Shoots right out the other way. But this is the weird part of this game, right? Again, we expected this to be a lockdown game. The first 2 games in this sort of series has been like that, but this game was just bonkers. It started from the beginning.
To me, the Oilers were playing real in the third period. I was really impressed with their lockdown play for that first 10 minutes. They weren't necessarily creating so much on offense, but they weren't giving the Blues anything. Once that Yamamoto goal happened, it seemed almost like they sat back. They breathed a sigh of relief. It was like they had, okay, we're gonna win now. We have some breathing room. And with 50 seconds later, it's in the back of your net. All of a sudden they're scrambling and they never really were able to recover. And we saw that on the Nurse play, whatever. We don't need to get into that again. But it's really interesting to see how this team plays with certain leads and what they're doing and stuff. Because to me, you saw that effort and that energy when they were up 2-1. Once they went to 3-1, it just dissipated so fast, right? It was really unique.
Yeah, it was strange to see. But hey, we're getting about 30 minutes into the broadcast and we haven't talked about a big part of this game, the offside. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a similar looking sort of offside call last play. Oh yeah.
Can I just say one thing? Full disclosure, I'm gonna need you to break this down. I actually didn't see it. I literally walked in my room right when Draisaitl scored. I started getting the broadcast set up. And yeah, so I honestly still haven't seen a replay of it.
So let me put it this way, right? If you remember the Cale Makar offside, right? Mm-hmm. That was not an offside, right? Where he lost possession of the puck as it crossed the blue line, right? And then he regained possession of the puck on the other side. This is a situation where McDavid's skates were across the blue line. So McDavid's in the offensive zone, right? So if you pictured blue line, skates on this side. This is a riveting audio podcast. Mm-hmm. Sorry for
you're doing good. You're doing good.
Sorry for the podcast listeners out there. The puck is on the other side of the blue line, right? So normally this is not an issue if you have possession, right? But it was deemed that McDavid lost possession because his stick left the puck, right? So this, as the puck swings in and he regains contact, puts his skates in the offensive zone before the puck crosses. So that's why it was called back.
Oh man.
Now, the other thing that the other detail you might need as well. This was not a coach's challenge. I know I told you when you sat down.
I heard that on the broadcast. That when I went back to watch the rest of overtime, I had heard that on the broadcast. Now, to me, just listening to that, if I had seen the actual what was going on in the review, I literally saw Draisaitl tap it in and I walked away. That's shame on me. I won't do that again. I'll stay for the 3 stars next time. But
normally that would be it, right?
Yeah,
normally that would be it.
But to me, just the description, I probably would have come in here 20 times more fired up. But the fact that I didn't see it and I kind of had time to breathe after, which is what I said about earlier shows. You don't have time to breathe on this. You're coming on so fast. That's why you can be so fired up. So because I didn't see it, I wasn't fired up coming out. And then the shootout literally sucks the absolute life out of you. I actually could, even if the Oilers won, and I will, if the Oilers ever win a shootout, you'll see this. To me, that's a Mickey Mouse win. I do not care. I will not have near the same amount of energy as an overtime.
Shootouts are a coin flip just to determine who gets the extra point.
Do not care. I hate them with such a passion. Give me 10 or 15 minutes of 3-on-3 and call it a day.
Just play. It's not popular, but like in football, soccer, right? Draws are possible. If you want to cut down on the amount of time that games can potentially go on for, right? You don't want people staying up way too late. Fine, I get that. Draws can still be possible, right?
Yeah,
and it's a system that works.
Yeah, I would like that better. And it's funny, I'm not sure if I said this yet on the broadcast, and I know I said this to you before, but if you look at a team like Dallas, who's leading the Central, they have 18 wins. The Oilers have 17. We have 1 win less than Dallas, but they have all of their half. I think they have 5 overtime losses, right? So that's where the discrepancy is. You look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have 19 wins. Everyone in Toronto's been dancing around the best season ever of all time. They have 2 more wins than Edmonton. That's it. They only have 2 more wins.
There's a lot to be said.
Losses. Yeah. It makes you feel like what I was thinking before. This season, they showed on the broadcast, 7-3, 3-7, 7-3, up and down like a toilet seat, up and down like a toilet seat, right? But it's not actually been like that. I got to take a step back and look, and we're starting to play some easier teams. We're not playing the best in our division. We're getting a lot of the teams that are above us, like Seattle, LA, and Vegas, were playing teams with under 500 records, and now it's kind of flopped. Like, I think we even caught LA tonight with the OT loss.
I think at one point we were
Oh,
tied
they
with
must have won
Seattle.
today. They must have won today. Seattle has 2 games in hand, but we're at 35. Seattle will. I have a lot of faith Seattle's going to fall off the map here. And same with LA.
Yeah, it's so strange to see, right? Like from last year Seattle to this year, like that's a strange looking team all of a sudden. How they've changed in their standings.
It's shooting percentage and better goaltending. That's what it comes down to be honest. Power play percentage, Matty Beniers is a lot better. Like,
honestly, is it like?
Haven't they had like fantastic goaltending from like Martin Jones? I want to say I don't pay much attention to Seattle. Again, I'm so hyper focused on the Oilers this year, especially. I can't tell you for sure, and I'm now navigating NHL.com, which is just impossible. So.
Honestly, like when you're talking about goalies, I don't think there's anyone in the okay, that's a lie. I forgot. I was gonna say I don't think there's any goalie in the Pacific Division that's doing that great. Forgot about Logan Thompson. Sorry.
Stuart Skinner has better numbers, man, which is shocking. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure Stuart Skinner has better numbers than Logan Thompson. And I saw Shaden on Twitter talking about this. Stuart Skinner should be at the All-Star game. I think representing the Pacific Division.
I think he should be. And honestly, we're going back to the old school voting for the All-Star games. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember
the fan vote. John Scott
vote. Was it John Scott?
Yeah, Merrick Krasinski, SDP, and Steve Dangle. Our network was responsible
getting someone on. Yeah, like I really hope that we stick with this format because it's such a fun way for fans to interact, even if it's sort of trolly and memey. But if we could get someone in there, that'd be great. Can we get Clem Kostin in there?
No, okay, Clem Kostin deserves to be in the Oilers Hall of Fame. Never mind the All-Star game. For those who didn't see it earlier today, the Oilers are notorious for having some media that's really tough on the players. And Clem Kostin, to like the hero that he is, comes out in his morning availability. And when Jim Matheson asks him a question about playing St. Louis, he looks at Jim Matheson dead in the eyes and says,
Fans don't like your questions. I saw it on Twitter.
Yes, you need to do better.
You guys need to change something.
Oh my God, I died. I want a jersey. I want to meet Clem Kostin. I want to shake his hand. I want to buy him a beer. My God, I cannot. Is his contract extension more important than the pending Leon Draisaitl extension in 3 years? How important is Clem Kostin? To me, he's already more valuable than Devin Shore in the room, and that's why Devin Shore is an Oilers still. So, yeah,
I think he's really endearing himself to this fan base. The fact that we know he's active on Instagram, he's actively on Twitter. He's a social media type of guy, even though he's, English is his second language. He's really giving it his all to interact with the fans. Not to mention, awesome. I think in the same interview, when asked about the fans and interacting and, talking about Oilers Twitter, he mentioned something like we're all a big team. Like the fans are part of it. They're along for the ride. We need to take care of the fans. Something along that lines. The guy is just amazing. I'm so glad St. Louis decided to give him up. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we're close. Yeah. Lindsay in the chat mentioned we're 16 likes away from getting to 56.
Tyler Benson plus, I was going to say 40. Who the hell's 40? But I appreciate everything you're doing, Lindsay. Some stranger in the chat, Yamo being back has improved the team. I think Yamo being healthy has immensely improved the team. Man, I cannot wait to get Evander Kane back. I'm just itching for it. He'll be such a boost. But to me, it all comes back to once they get healthy, it'll be awesome. But there's additions that need to be made. Honestly, I would be going into the playoffs. I would be happy. And I know we're talking about the playoffs. We haven't even played a half the season yet. But that's kind of where we are now. But going into the playoffs, I would be happy or content, I should say, with this forward group. Could they add a Jonathan Taves? Could they add a Max Domi? Would I like that a lot? Yeah.
Dude, but hearing it's going to be wild, right? Hearing the words out of Vancouver about Bo Horvat, he's not staying around, right? Mm-hmm. So if we, from our perspective, if we somehow have Puljujarvi move on, find success elsewhere, I wish the best for that guy. But if we have him move on, Bo Horvat's potentially an acquisition.
Listen, that to me would that be awesome? Of course. But to me, there's so many like
other holes.
Because Horvat, because of the pace that he's scoring at, will cost you a first-round pick plus. Oh, yeah. If the price of Jacob Chychrun is the Hampus Lindholm price, a first-round pick, a good prospect, and like a second or a worse prospect or whatever, like, can we not just do that? Like, that to me feels all like, to me, you have an excess of these really good forwards. Horvat would just be like, it's like getting sprinkles in your ice cream. Yeah, it tastes good, but you don't need that extra sugar.
You already had the ice cream there, right?
We need a cone. We need an ice cream cone for ice cream. We need the support. Jacob Chychrun. Jacob Chychrun is the cone. That's what I'm saying, right?
Oh,
I see David in the chat. Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson, full disclosure, was my favorite non-Oiler for a very long time. I would love Erik Karlsson. I would if Ken Holland went out in the offseason and signed Erik Karlsson at what's 50% of 11 million. It was 11 or 11.5.
Like
whatever.
Let's
say he makes 11.5. Yeah,
whatever,
I think it's 5.75, something like that. If Ken Holland went out and signed Erik Karlsson for a 4-year, $5.75 million contract, I'd be very happy, right? But
I think here's the thing, though, right? Like, there's a lot to be said about holes in this team. We have defensive holes. We have a little bit of an issue where we need a couple more depth guys. You don't want to have McDavid and Draisaitl scoring every single night to win. At the same time, though, it's cap's limited. There's only so much you could do.
And you take that cap that you have and you put it, like, to me, there's no perfect in line. And since McDavid's been here, no more perfect player has come on the market as Jacob Chychrun is for this team. Like, fills every hole, plugs every deficiency. If he came here and didn't work out, I'd be the first. I'll bite it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the situation, right? Couldn't be worse than OEL.
No. Well, that's the thing. So many people, and I saw people pulling up the receipts on Twitter, were bringing up the old, if OEL's on the market from a lot of big media, you got to go get Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You can't pass up a number one defenseman, because these guys were, for some reason in 2020, just tuned in with binoculars on the Arizona Coyotes. But come this day, does anyone even watch Jacob Chychrun? Do you guys actually know if he's even good or not? He's not good. He's not good. Well, what's the difference here? You're losing the plot. I don't understand. To me, you go get this guy. That he is just can change the complexion. This is someone that takes you from pretender to contender. And I'm not calling the Oilers a full-on pretender, but if you need McDavid has to lead the playoffs in scoring and literally doesn't even play in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that gets and you're still swept in the conference final. Like, I think you need to add on to that roster. You need to get more. So I think that's where I'm at.
Wise Kyle in chat mentioned Schenn and Chychrun. That would fix our defense. That's rock solid. But here's the thing: what are you gonna have to do to make it happen? Right? Schen's not an issue. Schenn's contract is
a second-round pick, right?
I think Schenn, if we do something like a Kulak, that would be somewhere around there, a second. But
and I don't think Schenn is as good as Kulak was when he was acquired by Edmonton.
It's
a different,
debatable,
different. Like,
I think what might actually drive up his value is the fact that he's coming in at, I think, like 750,000, something like that. Very low.
League min.
He's at like league min, so that's going to actually drive up his value because there's going to be more suitors trying to bid for his services, right? So Chychrun's going to be the big one. If you could make it work, if you can make the value work, do it.
I don't have the loudest voice, but I'm screaming it from everywhere I can, every second of the day, every moment of the day. I'm yelling, just trying to make people see and believe. I need more Jacob Chychrun believers. Like, I see people talking about his injuries, and one thing I saw before Zach Hyman came to Edmonton, Hyman had like 2 back-to-back or 3 years in a row where he had horrible knee injuries, right? Like, you can't, if someone's good enough to pass a health check and get traded, healthy enough, you just go with it. You can't just be too scared. Like, it's not like he had, knock on wood, this doesn't happen, but it's not like he had concussions or something that can come back there. That I think it was wrist. I think it was this. I think it was that, right? Like
nagging injuries.
Yeah. It's not like
it's not like a long like big issue. Here's the situation. There's a little bit of cap to go around. We have to clear it up somehow. There's ways to make it work. We just need to go for it. And you're right, the mentality of this current GM is sitting here and going, we can't trade the first. We have to hold on. No, this is the window. We got to go for it. And with the rest of our guys coming up into contract renewals like Draisaitl, like McDavid, their value is only going to go up from here, especially Draisaitl. You're going to have to pay the man. So these next couple of years,
on McDavid and Draisaitl's next contract, I could easily, with the cap going up, see them making $30+ million combined. Like, McDavid will get somewhere close to 20, and Draisaitl, we all yell he's the second best player in the NHL. They could easily pay him $16 million, and I do not care. Sign them a blank check. Whatever.
It's a blank check situation,
Oilers for life. But yeah, no, it's really interesting going forward, and we got a lot of games. I was thinking about it today. The trade deadline, I want to say, isn't until the beginning of March. Or end of February, one of the two. It'd be interesting to look, because we have the trade deadline. This is going to be a recurring theme until Jacob Chychrun's moved. We're going to be talking about him every single show.
March 3rd.
Yeah, March 3rd. Okay, so I will be tuning in on my TV, 6 a.m. Mountain Time, watching contently. One thing, Cato, complimenting my mustache. Thank you very much. And I've seen you in chat. Thanks for everything you've been doing. Wise Kyle. What's up, man? Lindsay MGD, thank you for all the likes. One thing I want to ask you, Dennis, I know we're running a little bit long. One thing I do want to ask you. Stuart Skinner, fantastic tonight. Game before against Nashville. Jack Campbell letting a super weak goal, but bounced back, played to an above a 900 save percentage, which was more than I expected.
That was the praise. Awesome. Oilers Twitter was praising him for that 900.
I have never watched a game like I did when Jack Campbell was in every Nashville shot. I was doing the rough calculation of his save percentage. I'm like, we're above 800. Can we get, they've scored 3 goals. They're at almost 30 shots. If Nashville gets 2 more shots, we can get to above a 900. Wow. And then he actually did it. It was intense. I've never had a save percentage living that rent free in my mind for the entire game, but good for Campbell. He bounced back. Anaheim's up next on Saturday, matinee game. So who knows what team's going to show up for that one. Thank God Anaheim sucks. I want to say they beat Montreal tonight. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Who do you start?
Okay, here's the thing, right? The issue is Anaheim is a high-flying, high-scoring team. They did beat Montreal tonight 5-2, right? You got to go with Skinner. You have to win this game.
I agree. To me, this, just like the Nashville game, look at how well Skinner played after getting some rest. And I agree with you. If Skinner could play every game, I would love it. But to me, this is a team that their goaltending's flat out sucked. Their defense sucks. That's why I don't want John Klingberg. I do not understand that.
Yeah, but that's a net negative for defense.
That's another thing. We'll talk about that another day. But to me, you look at a team that absolutely is atrocious in their own end. Yes, they can score on you, but this is a team, because of your riches offensively, if you have to win that game 7-5, I have faith that you can do it. I want to take advantage of every game that you can get Stuart Skinner rest. And if you lose it, that would absolutely suck. But to me, that looks like some cost, because then you got Doc Campbell out of the net on Thursday, I want to say, against Nashville. Or what? I don't even know.
Here's the situation, right? Because after the Saturday game, we play Nashville again. This time in Nashville, but I think that's fine to go back to Campbell. I think with the Ducks, this is a game where you should be down on this team. They are going on Bedard watch. Just smoke them, and I think let's secure
97 and 29, especially because Campbell played decent at the end. I think you go into this game just crossing your fingers, your toes, your arms, and your legs, just praying to God that Campbell can salvage a 900 save percentage once again. And every Campbell game where he gets 900 is such a victory, or win or lose, right? every time you can get Stuart Skinner resting for a game, you take it. And this to me is because there's going to come a stretch when you're playing, Vegas, Dallas, like you're going to be playing the top of the teams, right? You want to take advantage of as much rest as you can get Skinner now, because down the stretch, I'm sure if nothing changes with the goaltending, he's going to have a really high workload.
True. I think based on where we are right now, absolutely Skinner has won the net. So he's going to be doing a full workload ever since, going down to the AHL and being just the guy in the AHL. He's already had that huge workload. So now he's just going to be able to do it in the NHL. I honestly think play Skinner on Saturday. I don't know if you saw the highlight, but oh my God, Trevor Zegras, the guy is just a wizard. He absolutely... He conducted an NBA style ankle breaker.
Like I didn't see what you're talking about, but to me, all of the Zegras highlights, to be honest, I can understand why a fan of any other team goes nuts over Jack Hughes. Did you see Jack Hughes' goal tonight?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I could see why people go nuts over that stuff. But for me, this spoiled, rotten Oilers fan who gets to watch Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl do the absolute blasphemous things, like in overtime when they scored that goal, you should not be able to keep the puck on your stick like that. Like if I'm the other coach, I'm yelling and screaming, there's glue, there's string, there's tape, there's shenanigans at Rogers Place, because that should not be happening. And the fact that they can make this magic night in and night out, when I see, Jack Hughes, inside, outside, whoop-de-doo, how do you do? Great, awesome goal, Jack. Like, congratulations. McDavid does that, I'm like, I give him a golf clap. I move on to the next. I become complacent.
But hey, that's the beauty of being an Oilers fan. The duality of being an Oilers fan, however, is that we have real weird games like this one where defensive lapses end up costing us a game. But here's the hope. If we're going with Campbell next game, since you're doing the matinee game, again, 2 p.m. games, the record hasn't been great for you. I hope at least we get an entertaining game. And if it's high scoring, then gosh darn it, you're going to have a lot to talk about.
Oh, yes, I agree. I don't think there'll be any shortage of subjects for that game. I'm sure we'll have another 5-minute Jacob Chychrun segment, and I'm sure we'll play all the hits on Saturday. Rest assured. But I do have work tomorrow.
Yeah, as we mentioned, that's going to be the next game. We are going to call it for tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Still 52 of you watching. This has been a almost an hour show.
One more time. This was an awesome. I had a blast on this show. Let's just give thanks to everyone in chat. David W, Mark the Tech Guy, MGD, and Lindsay for being the police, making sure everyone likes the stream. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys being here on the stream. I know MGD will be here with me on Saturday. We got Wise Kyle, David. I'm just scrolling up to look. Bud Brown. Give everyone just shout outs they deserve. Pocket Track, Cato, Otto Umdrad, Lindsay, Lindsay, David W, Adam Firebear, and so many more. So many more of you guys. Awesome. Thanks for coming back here.
Love you all. And hey, if you're listening to the podcast after the fact, whether on YouTube or on your podcast player of choice, thank you so much for listening. We hope we can have you in here for a live game so that you can interact with the chat. But give us a like. If you like the podcast, give us a review on your platform of choice. And if you have some advice, let us know. We're open for comments, criticisms, whatever. That'll be it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, Zach will have the next game Saturday, 2 p.m. The Ducks are in Edmonton. Hopefully it'll be a good game, but we'll be here for the next show no matter what. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.